cavity, which we know we access by cutting a breastplate and then elevating that up and going into the thoracic cavity. And then there's that fibrous pericardium right there. See the loose fitting sac, the undersurface of which is the parietal pericardium. But then the heart wall itself, everyone understand that phrase, the heart wall itself doesn't include the cavity. So the heart wall itself would then just have the 3 layers. Visceral pericardium, whose name now changes to
epicardium,
the muscle myocardium lining, and very good. So I think everybody's up to speed on that. Well, then that was above the diaphragm, and we left the diaphragm intact. But then to access the abdominal cavity, I cut right along what's called the linea alba. You all did that, right in the midline, down to the symphysis pubis, and then was able to. And then I also had to cut the existing association of the margins of the diaphragm. So that the diaphragm's still all intact here. But now I've accessed the abdominal cavity, folks. And just to identify structures, under the diaphragm, which is intact here, but is the liver. So all of this structure right in here, and there's just some little dried, clotted blood, so don't worry about those speckling. But all of this is the liver. That little bit of green staining is where the gallbladder is peeking through. So, okay, and bile is greenish, so yeah. So it leaves a little stain. So then under the liver, if I pull up the margin of the liver, and I'll swing this around, you're seeing what's called the body of the stomach. And this cat's stomach has quite a bit in it, so it's quite large, the body of the stomach. And then remember what's called the pylorus feeds into all these loops of small intestine, which you really can't see because there's a structure in front. Let me just swing this around to show this side. If we kind of pull up on the liver, we're looking at the stomach. Sort of a more of a leaf-shaped spleen. Humans have a kind of a rounded, oval, what's called placoid, like a plate. And this isn't splenomegaly. This is not enlarged spleen. A lot of our cats, because they were street cats, had lots of infectious processes going on, and their spleen will be like really big. But anyway, okay. So this is rather small, but there it is in its normal position. And then the reason we can't see all the loops of the small intestine, we're going to go through this, but there's a structure called the greater omentum. It's one of the mesenteries. We're going to go through an exercise on mesenteries, and I'll explain all about this. But this greater omentum comes off the inferior anterior border of the stomach, and then when it goes back down, it actually comes back to attach to the colon. And it acts as an apron. That's what the Greek term omentum means. So if we pull up on that, now we see all the loops of small intestine, which have been disturbed because I showed this in the morning class. So they're not all as packed as they should be, but they're pretty packed. And then we're going to look at this mesentery. Somebody's tummy needs lunch. Okay, perfect for this particular.
Somebody's thinking, I'm hungry.
Right on cue here. We're going to talk about this mesentery, which is called the mesentery. So, and then after we get through the small intestine, then you can see much larger diameter is the large intestine, which comes down. The reason we can't pull that up out of the, oops, there it is. There's the rest of it. The yellow represents a different type of injection for the hepatic portal system, which we'll go into later. But we can't pull that up out of the cadaver either because it's attached by its mesentery. So, and we will, and then our goal Wednesday, folks, is to follow the aorta down and look at all its branches. And yes, we'll have to disturb all this stuff, but we need to keep all this stuff we're just going to go through intact for when we get to the digestive system. So that's why we want to do a quick appreciation of this first. So if you all go back to your seats, and does everybody have 3 different colors of writing implement?